You are watching Dark Tide Channel. Imagine walking into a house where the tea is still warm, but the people are gone, vanished into thin air without a scream or a struggle. These are the places where the map ends and the nightmares begin, corners of the earth that swallowed entire communities whole. History rarely gives us a blank page, but Roanoke is a book with the pages torn out. Picture the year 1590. Governor John White returns to Roanoke Island, expecting to be greeted by the faces of his family, his friends, a bustling community of over 100 souls. Instead, he steps off his ship into a deafening, heavy silence. The cabins are dismantled, not destroyed, just taken apart as if the people packed up for a picnic and never came back. There were no bodies, no signs of a struggle, no blood soaking the earth, just one word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. It wasn't a distress signal. It was a riddle that has taunted us for centuries. Think about the sheer impossibility of it. An entire colony, men, women, and children, evaporating like mist in the morning sun. Theories have run wild for hundreds of years. Did they integrate with local tribes? Did they try to sail back to England and drown in the merciless Atlantic? Or did something darker, something ancient in those woods claim them? When you stand on that soil today, you aren't just standing on a historic site. You are standing on a crime scene where the perpetrator was never caught. The wind there feels different, carrying the weight of a question that has no answer. It is the ultimate American ghost story because it's real. It reminds us that no matter how civilized we think we are, the wilderness can simply swallow us whole, leaving nothing behind but a name on a post. In the rugged hills of Rajasthan lies a place so terrified of its own shadows that even the government forbids you from entering after sunset. Bungar isn't just a ruin, it is a warning carved in stone. The legend here is thick with obsession and black magic. They say a wizard, skilled in the dark arts, fell in love with the princess of the fort. When his attempt to entrap her with a love potion backfired, resulting in his death, he used his dying breath to curse the entire village to desolation. He proclaimed that no roof would ever stand here, and seeing the roofless ruins today, you start to believe him. Walking through Bungar during the day is unsettling enough. The architecture is majestic, yet hollow. You see the remnants of a bustling marketplace, the grand Havelis, but they are stripped of life, standing like skeletons bleaching in the sun. But as the sun begins to dip, the atmosphere shifts physically. The air gets heavier. Locals will tell you that anyone who dares to stay the night never returns, or if they do, they lose their mind. It is not just about ghosts, it is about a trapped energy, a replay of a tragedy that refuses to fade. The Archaeological Survey of India, putting up a sign, legally barring entry at night, is the closest official admission you will ever get, that some places are just plain evil. It is a ghost town that doesn't just look dead, it feels like it's waiting. If you thought Transylvania was just about vampires, you were looking in the wrong direction. Hoya Baciu is the Bermuda Triangle of the forest world. This isn't a place you go to hike. This is a place you survive. The stories here don't start with ghosts. They start with physical sickness. People who walk into these woods report sudden, intense anxiety, rashes, nausea, and the feeling of being watched by 1,000 unseen eyes. There is a clearing in the center of the forest, a perfect circle where nothing grows. Scientists have tested the soil, and there is no biological reason for it. It is just a dead zone, a scar on the face of the earth. The trees themselves look like they are in pain. They grow in twisted, spiraling shapes, bending at impossible angles as if recoiling from some invisible horror. There is the tale of a shepherd who drove 200 sheep into the forest, and neither he nor the sheep were ever seen again, just gone. Electronic devices malfunction, lights appear in the sky, and time seems to distort. It is a place where reality feels thin, like a piece of fabric stretched until it tears. You don't walk through Hoya Baciu to see nature. You walk through it to test your luck against the unknown. It is a biological anomaly that science can't explain, and intuition tells you to run from. Some villages are abandoned because of economics. Orador Seglain was murdered. Walking through these streets is not like visiting a ruin. It is like walking into a crime scene. Moments after the police tape was put up, except the crime happened in 1944. During World War II, a Nazi panzer division surrounded this village and massacred 642 civilians. Men, women, and children were executed, and the village was set ablaze. But here is the haunting part. It was never rebuilt. It was left exactly as it was on that afternoon, a frozen scream of agony preserved for eternity. You can still see the rusted sewing machine on a table where someone was working. You can see the charred remains of cars, the bed frames, the pots and pans. It is a ghost town created by human cruelty, not supernatural forces, which makes it infinitely more terrifying. The silence here is aggressive. It demands that you witness what happened. It is not a mystery of where did they go. The mystery is how humanity can turn so dark so quickly. Oradour-sur-Glane serves as a permanent scar on the landscape of France. It forces you to look at the fragility of life. One moment you're buying bread or fixing a car, and the next your entire existence is wiped out, leaving only a burnt shell to tell the story. Venice is known for romance and gondolas, but just across the water lies Poveglia, an island made of nightmares and ash. They say that 50% of the soil on this island is composed of human remains. For centuries, this was the dumping ground for the unwanted. When the plague struck, the sick were dragged here, thrown into pits and burned, often while they were still barely alive. Later, it became an asylum for the mentally ill, run by a doctor who performed brutal, torture-like experiments on his patients before throwing himself from the bell tower. The energy on Poveglia is violent. It is uninhabited and strictly off-limits to tourists. And for good reason. Fishermen refuse to cast their nets near the island, fearing they will pull up human bones. The crumbling buildings of the hospital still stand, rotting from the inside out, filled with rusted beds and medical equipment. It is a place where suffering was industrialized. The screams of the plague victims and the asylum patients seem to have soaked into the brick and mortar. It is not just a spooky place. It is a concentration of pure misery. Being near Poveglia feels like standing next to a reactor leaking emotional radiation. It is a reminder that pain doesn't just disappear when people die. Sometimes it lingers, poisoning the very ground. Nature always wins in the end, and Hito-wan is the proof. Once a thriving fishing village on Shengshan Island, it was abandoned in the 1990s as residents moved to the mainland for better opportunities. What happened next is a slow-motion devouring. The village didn't fall into ruin, it turned green. Ivy and vines have covered every single inch of the stone houses. It looks like a post-apocalyptic dreamscape, where the buildings are just bumps under a thick blanket of vegetation. It is hauntingly beautiful, but also deeply unsettling. There is a strange silence in Hito-wan. It is the silence of a life interrupted. You can peer into the windows of these green mounds and still see furniture, broken toys, and the remnants of daily life, all being slowly crushed by the roots of plants. It shows us how quickly the world would erase us if we disappeared tomorrow. In just a few decades, the village has ceased to be a human settlement and has become a part of the mountain. It feels like a secret garden that has gone wild. A place where the line between the man-made and the natural has been completely erased. It is a visual representation of abandonment, a green ghost town that whispers that we are only temporary guests on this planet. Pripyat is the ultimate monument to human hubris. Before 1986, it was a model city, a symbol of the future, filled with young families and high hopes. Then, the Chernobyl reactor exploded, and in the blink of an eye, time stopped. Clocks remain frozen at 1:23. The famous Ferris wheel, which was due to open just days after the disaster, stands rusting, a yellow skeleton against a gray sky, a ride that never brought joy to anyone. This isn't just an abandoned city, it is a tomb for a dream. Walking through Pripyat is a sensory overload of wrongness. You see dolls dropped in the middle of the street, school books open on desks, and gas masks littering the floor of the cafeteria. The danger here is invisible. The radiation is a silent killer that still stalks these streets, ensuring that no one can live here for thousands of years. It is the most preserved ghost town on Earth, a Soviet time capsule that was sealed shut by poison. It feels cold, metallic, and profoundly sad. Pripyat forces you to confront the fact that our greatest technological achievements are just one mistake away from becoming our graveyards. It is a place where the apocalypse already happened, and we are just touring the aftermath. At the very tip of India, where the Bay of Bengal meets the Indian Ocean, lies Dhanushkodi. Until 1964, it was a bustling port town, a connection point between India and Sri Lanka. Then came the cyclone, winds howling at 170 miles per hour, and tidal waves over 20 feet high smashed into the town. A train full of passengers was washed into the sea, disappearing without a trace. Overnight, the town was declared unfit for living. Today, it stands as a skeleton on the sands, a haunting stretch of ruins flanked by the ocean on both sides. The church without a roof, the broken railway station, the school walls half buried in sand. It all looks like a set from a movie about the end of the world. The wind here is relentless. It howls through the empty arches of the church, singing a mournful song for the souls lost to the sea. It is known as the ghost town of India, but it feels more like a graveyard of structures. The isolation is absolute. You are standing on a strip of land that tried to fight the ocean and lost. It is a place of stark, terrifying beauty, where the power of nature is the only law that matters. From a distance, Hashima looks like a battleship floating on the horizon, earning it the nickname Gunk Enjima. It is a slab of concrete rising out of the sea, a fortress of industrialization. This island was once the most densely populated place on Earth, packed with coal miners and their families living in cramped, high-rise concrete blocks. But when the coal ran out in the 1970s, the exodus was instant. Everyone left. Now it is a concrete jungle decaying in the salt air, a gray, monochromatic maze of crumbling balconies and empty corridors. Hashima feels oppressive. The buildings are packed so close together that they block out the sky, creating a claustrophobic atmosphere even though no one is there. You can feel the ghosts of the hard labor, the sweat, and the grime of the mining days. It is a hollow shell of industrial ambition. The seawalls that once protected the people now just hold back the ocean from swallowing the ruins completely. It is a stark reminder of how disposable our communities are when they no longer serve an economic purpose. It stands silent in the waves, a concrete tombstone for an era of industry that consumed people and then spat them out. Imagine a community of thousands vanishing in a single night, leaving their homes, their temples, and their lives behind, never to be seen again. This is the riddle of Kuldara. Established by the Palawal Brahmins, this village was prosperous and wealthy. But in the early 19th century, the entire population of Kuldara and 83 surrounding villages disappeared overnight. The legend says they fled to protect the honor of the village chief's daughter from a tyrannical minister, Salim Singh. Before they left, they cursed the land so that no one could ever settle there again. To this day, the curse seems to hold. The houses are dilapidated, roofless, and eerie. The streets are perfectly planned, lined with the shells of homes that once held laughter and families. People who have tried to stay the night report strange sounds, footsteps, and an overwhelming feeling of unease. It is not just an abandoned village, it is a protest preserved in stone. The silence of Kuldara is heavy with the pride of a people who chose exile over oppression. It is a mystery that defies logic. How do thousands of people move without a trace? The empty village stands as a monument to their vanishing act, a puzzle with missing pieces that will never be found. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.